This is not a tutorial. If you are looking for a sock knitting tutorial, you will find it here and in the description box below. 3 years ago, I made a video with the title How I Knit My Socks. That is already 3 years ago, and in that time I developed as a knitter and changed something to my sock knitting, and I learned a lot. So I thought it is about time to make a new video because I get quite often asked, Anna, how do you knit your socks? With which method do you use? Which yarn? Needles? What are you doing with your cuff, with your heel, with your toe? And all of that will be covered in this video. In my old video from 2020, I showed you many different yarns. So socks made out of West Yorkshire spinners, hand-dyed yarns, Lana Grossa, Opal, Regia, and so much more. But I changed that because most of these yarns shrinked, felted in the washing machine, broke, I had holes in my socks, or they weren't holding up well during the time. I'm hard on my socks, I wear them every day, I wear them at home without slippers, I wear them in my boots, in my shoes. And the best sock yarn for me that I have discovered for myself is Opal sock yarn. So I'm pretty much only knitting socks out of Opal yarn. I have quite a big stack of socks now in my cupboard, and I don't knit socks usually out of other yarns. I make exceptions, for example, for special colorways like the Christmas colorway from West Yorkshire Spinners, but I don't enjoy that so much and I take care a little bit differently. Opal yarns are not only a pleasure to knit with, as I said, they hold up much better. You can throw them into the washing machine and nothing bad will happen to them. They hold up for a very long time. You can be hard on your socks. They have fun colorways. So I decided to subscribe to their Opal Abo, which is Opal subscription in English. It's only available in a few European countries. And always when I showed it up on my podcast, which beautiful colorways the Opal subscription has, my customers asked, could you please make it available for us in the US and Canada and Australia as well? So I did my research and I found a very nice wholesaler who couldn't offer the subscription, but the whole collection variety that Opal offers. And now I have them all available in my shop for my international customers. So I'm knitting since 2011. That means I have gained some experiences in knitting, and I can say Opal yarn, for not only for socks, also for sweaters and other things, is my most favorite yarn and the best yarn I have worked with since 2011. When people say, okay, I like Opal yarns and I love the self-striping patterns they create, but how can I knit two perfectly matching socks? You are covered. I have a tutorial here for you how to knit perfectly matching socks. It's very easy. I explain everything very slowly. It's definitely also for beginner. So you can knit two perfectly matching socks with self-striping yarn that doesn't only have block stripes but many other patterns going on. In Germany we have 3 different sock yarn weights. So we not only use fingering weight yarn, but also sport weight and DK weight yarn. If you knit socks out of fingering weight or sport weight yarn, you will fit in your shoes quite nice and it's not too tight or anything. DK weight socks are more for big boots or for at-home socks for the sofa or running around without slippers. So our companies in Germany come with sock yarn tables. So they tell you, for example, you need this amount of stitches with sport weight sock yarn for a men's shoe size X. So let's say 9, or a women's shoe size 8.5. So, but I couldn't find something for the US and UK shoe size system and in inch. So I sat down, translated everything into your UK and US and EU shoe size system and translated everything from centimeters to inches. So now with my sock knitting table you can get on my website annaknitter.com/patterns you can knit all around the world socks for every shoe size with every sock yarn weight. So if you're interested in that, just hop over to my website. Opal releases 6-ply and 8-ply, that's how we call it. So sport weight and fingering weight collections every year in fall. So this year also, I already know what's coming up. You don't want to miss it. So maybe you want to subscribe to my newsletter because I inform my newsletter subscribers always 24 hours earlier than everyone else if I have a shop update. And sometimes it happens that a week later I shoot a video and people reach out to me and say, oh, all the yarns you showed us on the video are gone already. Yes, because the email subscribers were quicker. Some people ask me, Anna, how many socks do you have and how do you store your hand knits? So I think I wrote it down. Yeah, I have 21 pairs of socks knit up in the way I will show you today. Plus the socks I knit with different heels, different yarns and so on. I don't enjoy to wear so much. So I think all in all I must have 35 pairs of socks. My husband has 7 pairs. Yeah, I know, I'm working on that. And the way I store them is nothing fancy. I just put them in, yeah, like IKEA soft boxes. Sometimes I fold them neatly, sometimes I just throw them in. But I always add little bags of lavender, so to shy away the moths. But I haven't had a problem yet. Do you knit pattern socks or vanilla socks, Anna? That is an easy question. In the video from 3 years ago, I had only 1 pattern sock. I had 2, but the one was already worn out, so I couldn't wear it anymore. So I only had 1 blueberry waffle patterned sock. And other than that, I only knit vanilla socks. Because I had the problem to find nice patterns that go well with my self-strapping yarn. And if I use self-strapping yarn, you know, I love Opal, it's not only block stripes, it's Fair Isle patterning or, I don't know, many different effects in that sock. So the yarn often is too busy for the sock patterns. But through my Opal subscription, I got inspired by all the ladies who shared their projects online. And I found many nice, easy sock patterns, textured sock patterns that go nicely with heavy self-strapping yarn. And now I'm writing my own sock patterns. You can find them on my website as well. And all my sock patterns usually go nicely with self-strapping yarn. Or I design specifically for sock sets I offer in my shop. But most of my patterns are perfect for all these self-strapping yarns. And I really enjoy to knit them because I like to have a vanilla sock going, but I prefer knitting and wearing, actually, patterned socks now. So that is a big change that happened in the last 3 years. Which needles do I use? It didn't change at all. I still use my 6-inch wooden Symphony DPNs, so double pointed needles from Knitter's Pride, or in the EU it's called Knit Pro. I use DPNs because I enjoy to knit cuff down. I don't enjoy using magic loop or flexi flips or I don't know, there are so many different needle types you can use to knit socks. I tried some of these things, but I really don't enjoy the process. I love working with DPNs, and that is what I learned as a beginner because that is the way. Nowadays it's maybe a little bit different, but back then that was the normal way to start to learn knitting socks in Germany. So I really like that. And with DPNs you are very flexible, and you can, if you can handle DPNs, you can knit all the tiny circumferences for ornaments or other things. Or baby socks, for example. Yeah, so definitely DPNs. I usually use 2.5mm needles, but you have to be careful. Although all the sock yarns pretty much have fingering weight sock yarns have the same yardage, that doesn't mean that you can knit all these yarns with the same needle. For example, I made a big mistake. I thought, oh, all the sock yarns go perfectly with 2.5mm needles. So I did this with West Yorkshire Spinners, my first pair of Christmas socks. And it was too loose, therefore the sock wore through very quickly. I got a very holy sole, so I can't wear them anymore, because West Yorkshire Spinners, for whatever reason, is much thinner than, for example, Peyton's Croy. Well, that is a very thick sock yarn, or Opal or Regia and all the other typical not hand-dyed sock yarns. Yeah, so I used 2mm needles for West Yorkshire Spinners, but as I said previously, I don't knit them very often. It has to be a very special colorway that I decide, okay, I will go through a sock on 2mm needles. What do I do for the cuff? As I said, I'm knitting cuff down, so there's nothing fancy. I'm using the typical long tail cast on. I knit usually a 2x2 ribbing, because a 2x2 ribbing looks a little bit tidier and neater than a 1x1 ribbing. To make a 1x1 ribbing look pretty and neat, you have to do at least a half twisted rib. So you knit the knit stitches through the back loop, the purl stitches normally, and knit stitches through the back loop, and so on. You can also do a full twisted rib, so that means you do the same with the purl stitches as well, but I don't recommend doing that because it's not fun. So that's why I really like the 2x2 ribbing, and I like the rhythm of the 2x2 ribbing. That did not change in the last 3 years. And my ribbing is usually already in the color of the self-strapping sock yarn and approximately 4.5 centimeters long. Sometimes I make exceptions. For example, for my pattern God's Promise, you should see on the screen, I did a rolled cuff and then did the half twisted rib because it looks so pretty and neat. I don't enjoy knitting it so much because it slows down my process, and as I said, I don't enjoy the rhythm of 1x1 so much, but it looks so pretty. And in my upcoming pattern for Socktober, I plan a very fun pattern, a mystery knit along again. And therefore I have a very easy but very pretty and very different cuff. So look out for that. Now we come to the leg of the sock. So that is up to you how long your leg should be. But usually I start to knit the cuff, so it looks like that for me. And then I measure from the beginning of the cuff like this with my hand. And if it's that long, that's approximately 19 to 20 centimeters. If it's that long, I start the heel. So I don't measure. And for the second sock, I start the next sock after finishing the first one. I don't have second sock syndrome. If I start the second one, or when I start the second one, I just hold it next to the finished sock and see, okay, how much of the pattern, you can see it here, is left to knit the colors, and then I start the heel, so I don't measure so much. I do measure on the foot. The heel, that is the biggest change that happened in the last 3 years. I learned from my mistakes. In the last video I told you, so from 3 years ago, that I like the short row heel with wrap and turns, because I don't like German short rows so much. That's still the case. But the reason I did knit the wrap and turn heel was my impatience. That's it. I thought I can live with the fit, but as said in the last video as well, I preferred the fit of a heel flap and gusset much more. But I enjoy the short row heel and so on, and the fun process. It's much quicker. I think it takes half the time. I don't knit short row heels anymore. The reason is they don't fit well on my foot. The heel flap and gusset has much more room for your heel, so it stays where it should be. But the short row heel is very tiny because you knit less fabric, so to say, and that's why it doesn't fit so nicely. It's too tight and it comes off my heel constantly, and that is so annoying. And that is why I always knit heel flap and gusset And the heel flap I do knit with a slip stitched heel pattern because it looks prettier and it's a little, so it sits a little more snug. It has enough stretch, but it sits a little bit more snug on the back of your heel, so it doesn't get too loose. Yeah, so that is, I think, the biggest change. And the toe, I knit the traditional German Bandspitze. I don't think there is a translation for Bandspitze. Maybe you can write in the comments down below how you call the toe I'm knitting. So in my sock knitting table you can buy in my shop, it tells you simply how often you have decrease in how many rounds. So for example, do the first decreasing, then knit 3 plain rounds, then do the next decreasing round, then knit only 2 plain rounds, and so on, so that it doesn't shape like this, but more like this. So this is the easiest toe that is in every German sock pattern from the past. It fits nicely, it's easy to memorize how to do it. You don't have to kitchen or anything, you don't have to look up a pattern constantly. It fits perfectly. So that's the toe I knit, and that is the toe I provide in all of my sock knitting patterns that are on my website. I hope this video was a little helpful for you. If you like this video and you want to support my channel, maybe you can click the like button, or you want to subscribe here. And here are more videos you can watch if you're interested in knitting. So thank you for watching, and we will see each other in the next video again about knitting. Bye bye!